everyone, it's Melissa here. It is January and the holiday Tu Bishvat, or the birthday of the trees, is almost here. I'm outside, it's a beautiful day, and before you throw something at the screen, let me tell you that in Israel, which is a Mediterranean climate, and also here in LA, we are really blessed to have great weather and great weather for gardening. Now I realize that I am in the minority and you might be blanketed in snow right now. So I wanted to quickly show you a few things behind me, which is a very young hedge that my family planted when we moved to our new house. And because tree planting is the traditional activity that families do on Tu Bishvat, I just wanted to put out there that there are a lot of obstacles for people to do that or to celebrate Tu Bishvat by tree planting. Maybe you're frozen and snowed in. Maybe you're renting. Maybe you don't have the strength to pull off an entire row of trees or just digging one hole. And maybe financial constraints just make it not possible to go buy a tree and do that. Even if you do plant trees for Tu Bishvat, maybe you're gonna run out of room at a certain point. So today I wanted to talk about non-traditional Tu Bishvat activities that you might enjoy doing, whether you are old or young. These are all going to be indoor friendly, and I encourage you to stick around to the end because the second to last one is a little bit controversial, and the last one is going to satisfy anyone in your family with a sweet tooth. So let's go inside and discuss, but before we go, I just want to show you, this is the little preview of what my camellias are going to look like. Our shrubs here are very young and they had a traumatic first year, but we planted them in honor of our daughters. We have one row of pink here and a row of pink ones over there, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of expense. So I know how it is, and we're really looking forward to these growing and blooming over the years as they grow up. But let's go inside and talk about some easier ideas for you guys. Welcome back inside. So this past weekend, I did visit the plant nursery with my children, and that is obviously a goal that I think is worth trying for if you live in a community that has nurseries open at this time of year. It's really fun to see what's in season, what's growing, what you could plant, and also to see the young tree saplings that might be sold at this time of year in bare root form. If you can't get to a tree nursery, and I'm not saying that you even can, then the next best thing I think is to do some reading. And I pulled for you today a sampling of my own adult books on gardening, canning, food and fruits. I have a treehouse book in my library, and then I also pulled out some things like garden magazines and seed catalogs that may come in the mail to you or can be picked up at low or no cost. So behind me, I even have pulled out some of my children's books on gardens and gardening topics or stories. This is just a selection of what I have. We have a crazy library thanks to the thrift store, and I have a video about that I'll link down below if you want to see more about my kids' books. But if you have a library nearby, chances are there are a lot of resources about fruit trees, gardening, farming, seeds, canning and preserving that for me and my family are really interesting to read about. And in the wintertime, I call this being an armchair gardener. It's a wonderful thing about Tu Bishvat, I think, that the holiday takes place in the wintertime. Tu Bishvat is the birthday of the trees. It's a marker from year to year where you say, okay, this tree is 1, 2, 3 years old. Gardening in general is also really a practice in dreaming, thinking about the future, having faith, and having patience. And I think as a parent, those are all lessons that I want to teach my children. And they're actually all qualities that my children already have that I think are really beautiful. They are very hopeful and dreamy, and they are persistent and patient when it comes to things like planting and gardening. So I often will put out a selection of books like this, and they don't need to be these specific books, but this is just an example that I wanted to run past you as an armchair gardening activity. My next suggestion for you is a fun one. This is improving your community through tree planting. Now, there are some organizations where you can donate money and they will plant a tree for you, or you can honor someone through a tree planting. But in my community, when we moved to this house, we noticed that our neighborhood was really lacking trees in the parkway, which is the space between the sidewalk and the road. There were many mature trees on our particular block, but then as you went further along, mature trees had been cut down and removed and they had not been replaced. So I just wanted to give you the story of how I did this. I'm gonna get out my laptop. So I made a letter and I made a list, a crazy spreadsheet list. And what I did with my stroller and my children was I walked the neighborhood and I made notes of the house number and street that I felt was lacking a tree and maybe they could get one for free from our city. We have in Los Angeles a nonprofit called City Plants. They work with the utilities and the city to be planting trees and to cool our community through shade-giving trees that are approved by the city. So anyone who wants one of those trees can sign up and get one, and they just need to do that. And a lot of neighbors didn't know about that. Maybe they weren't interested in a tree, but maybe they just didn't know. And this project where I went door to door and I left a note that said, "Dear neighbors, to maximize the Amazing City Plants program, I'd like to coordinate with as many neighborhood households as possible." I gave my neighbors all of the instructions that they needed to request a free tree from the city. You get the tree and it's delivered and planted for you. And I followed up with this program by being in touch with these neighbors, and I kept a master spreadsheet and followed up. And our neighborhood got over 20 free trees planted, and they're now 2 years old, or they will be 2 years old on Tu Bishvat. And it's something that I know that my family and my children will really take great pride in, knowing that that's our legacy that we helped coordinate for this neighborhood. So that's my second tip for you. My third and slightly controversial suggestion for Tu Bishvat is Guerrilla Gardening. Now, I appreciate that we have great weather and we do live in a house here in California. So if you're an apartment dweller, you might consider asking another neighbor if you can do some gardening in their yard or helping a neighbor out. I think that's a beautiful mitzvah to do. Or you could take matters into your own hands and grab a few seeds and just throw them somewhere where you think that they could live. These are mammoth sunflower seeds. My children and I have a history of gardening in parkways. Usually parkways that we, own the land of, but parkways nonetheless, where it's otherwise useful land that is mostly neglected and could be beautiful. So we have grown mammoth sunflowers in the parkway, and let me tell you, these were so miraculous and beautiful, and they were really worth the effort. The other little item, this was a favor from my wedding, and this is a seed bomb. You can order them from various places, but there's a company in Culver City that makes them. And these are, I'll open them for you. These are little clay balls that are embedded with seeds. So a seed bomb is a tool for a guerrilla gardener where you could throw this ball over a chain link fence into a street median on the side of the road that you pass every day. And you could, using this, throw it in the springtime months where it will then get rain or irrigation and will germinate into wildflowers. I love seed bombs. It's a little bit, maybe illegal, but I think it's a beautiful idea. My last suggestion for you for Tu Bishvat is to celebrate the birthday of the trees with a sweet treat. Here is a little toy example for you. There's nothing stopping you from baking an actual cake, or I have a cookie mold here. You could make tree cookies, and I dare you, go with your family, take an actual cake if you dare, and go sit with a tree that's important to you. I know that for my family, our camellia hedges that we planted for our children are important to us. And maybe a tree was planted when your baby was born. Or maybe there's a tree that you just enjoy visiting or picnicking under, or that provides shade and other resources to your family. Whatever it is, I hope you do something nice this year for Tu Bishvat. It is such a beautiful holiday, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish. I think that what it's about is something that's important to all of us because we all live here on this earth. I know it's important to my children, and these are activities that I will be doing with them. Thank you as always for your time, and if you liked this video, give it a like and hit subscribe if you want to stick around and see future videos I'm making. Take care, and I hope you have a great Tu Bishvat.